Okay, we're out in the garage doing a project again. Got the Arcdroid out, but first cut won't be using the Arcdroid. I'll be cutting by hand because it's a simple straight cut. Got some 3/8 mild steel plate here that I didn't even know I had. It's left over from a project I did for a buddy to make a log splitter, a 4-way splitter. But I found it and I realized that might be an interesting project, or might be interesting to use for a target. My youngest daughter and her boyfriend wanted to go shooting. We got rained out, but I thought, hey, if I could make a target that's more interesting, maybe this would happen more often. So I'm going to make a gong target. It's only going to be good for handguns. This is mild steel. It's not AR 500 or anything like that. Not abrasion resistant, but it should hold up to handgun rounds, 9mm, 45 or whatever. This won't be about shooting. This is going to be about making something in the garage. Channel's not changing, none of that. But anyway, so I thought I would do a quick video on doing this project. Like I said, first cut's to cut the plate into the target shape. The second step will be to cut out some brackets, and we will use the Arcdroid for that, and then I'll weld those on and we'll get it hanging. So here we go, let's cut some metal. Alright, so this is, like I said, this is 3/8 mild steel plate that I'm going to be cutting out of, and it's just a simple straight across cut, so I couldn't see a good reason to try to do it with the Arcdroid. I'm just going to do it by hand. I've got an edge here to hold the torch up against to cut straight across. Size doesn't really matter. I just want a straight line mostly, and with my shaky hands I need a ledger for that kind of thing. The torch is all cranked all the way up, 60 amps, 75 psi, and hopefully it cuts right through this. Should. That's why we have an Arcdroid. Because my hand isn't nearly as steady as the CNC controller is. But I think I got cut through enough that I can get that apart. Let's see what we got. So there we go, and that's what we'll be using as a target. Okay, so you're gonna have to bear with me a little bit today. There'll be a few configuration changes. First I had the manual torch set up. Now I've got the CNC torch set up with the Arcdroid, and you can see the cut wasn't bad, you know, setting up a piece of metal to run the torch next to. I just used a piece of metal to scrape the dross off. It hasn't been hit by a grinder or anything. And I probably won't because I'm going to shoot at this, so clean enough for what we're doing. So the next step will be to cut out the brackets that go on top of that for hanging the target. Oh, but you don't know about that. So while I'm getting ready for this, why don't you go take a look at this video of drawing the bracket, and when you come back we'll cut it out of this scrap here. See you in a second. Okay, we're going to draw a bracket for a gong type target. So let's open up Inkscape, and this bracket's going to be welded on. So the first thing after I open Inkscape, I like to set the document properties, change this to US letter, which changes the units to inches, change the display units to inches as well, and that's all we need to do for now. So this bracket's going to be based on a square, so I'm going to draw a square And while I'm here, I'm going to round the edges just because I think it looks better. We'll do something like that. And then I'm going to set the size. You can drag it, but it's easier for me to just enter it. I'll make it 3 inches by 3 inches. 3 inches by 3 inches. So that's the basis of our bracket. And now I'm going to draw a rectangle that's not going to be rounded. And I want that to be just a little bit bigger than the 3/8 steel that the bracket's going to go on. So the width I'm going to do 450. And the height is going to be 2 inches. And then we'll place this guy here. None of this is got to be critically perfect. It's just going to be what looks right and allows me to weld this together. So now I've got those two lined up. I'm going to arrange them. Go to the line and distribute. And I'm going to click this to center them. And now I want to subtract that square piece from the rounded square. So I'm going to go up here to path difference. So now I have my bracket with the slot in it to slip down onto the 3/8 steel. And now I need some holes. So these brackets are going to slide onto a piece of rebar, 3/8 rebar. So I'm going to get some 5/8 holes to make sure that it can swing. And that's what I'm doing right now. So I'll get a circle. 5/8 is 625. So 0.625 inches. 625 inches. And I need 2 of these. I want to put them in either corner so that the when it's set up, the target will actually be angling down towards the ground. So any ricochet should go down into the dirt. So I'm going to take this circle. I'm going to hit Control D to duplicate it. And I'm going to put it where I think it looks good. Nothing more technical than that. And the same here. Put it where I think it looks good. Now I'm going to highlight both circles, hit the shift, click on it. So I got both circles, and I'm going to set their height equal. And now just to make sure that they're centered on the bracket, it doesn't really matter for this application. But if I click both of these guys, I can group them. So I go up here to Object, Group. And then I can highlight everything. And I can center them. And it moved a little bit. So now that should be centered left to right and at equal heights. And so now I'm going to click just the circles and ungroup them. Object, ungroup. And actually I want to bring these to the top. It makes it easier to make sure it subtracts the two objects properly. So I'm going to do that here. Raise to the top. I'm going to highlight one circle, shift click the rest of the drawing. Go up here to path difference. And then I'm going to click this other circle. Click the rest of the drawing, shift click, path difference. And that's basically our bracket, almost done. I'm going to go to fill and stroke, stroke style, and change this to 035, which is the kerf of my plasma torch. And the other thing I'm going to do is I don't like this being square, so I'm going to click the node tool so we can see all the nodes. Pretty simple. I'm going to highlight 2 of these, and then I'm going to narrow the bottom. So I'm going to hit Control and Alt and the arrow key. Sorry, not Control. You hit Alt and the arrow key, and the selected nodes will move with the arrows. I'm going to put that right about there. I'm going to highlight these other 2 nodes, Alt, the other arrow key, and I'm just looking at those squares on the bottom and put them about the same position. This isn't a critical rocket science type work. I think that is our bracket. And now if I go back to document properties, I'll click the button here to resize to content, so that when we take it into the Arcdroid, it'll the 0 point will be down here in this corner, so it's easier to set up on your material. So that's it. That's the drawing. Let me save this guy while I'm here, and we'll pull it into, let's see, save, and I'll call it target bracket, and save it as an SVG. Alright, so minimize this now. Okay, so now we're going to open up SheetCam, graphics, SheetCam, and I'm going to import the drawing, target bracket, right there, and open it. And there's the bracket we just drew. Now I need to set an operation. I don't think I have this material set up. So 3/8 is 375. Let's do 0.5 for rapid clearance. And that should be all we need to do. And we're set up to cut. Now it's going to cut in the center of the circles and one path all the way around the bracket. And that's pretty much all we've got to do. Now we're gonna file, run post processor, target bracket G-code, save. And we're good. I could have changed the cut order, but it's pretty simple. Not much to do there. So now I'm going to save this file. I'm just going to exit. It'll ask me if I want to save, and I'll say yes. So that's that. Now all I've got to do is copy the G-code file to the Arcdroid, and we can cut out a bracket. That was boring, wasn't it? Now, hopefully it wasn't boring. Not everybody does the computer stuff. I'm on computers all the time, so I'm comfortable with that. That probably could have been traced right on the Arcdroid. It could have made the whole thing, or done with CAD, cardboard aided drafting. But for me, it was just as simple to do it on the computer because I'm on the computer all the time. That's what I do for a living. I don't draw for a living, but I program computers. So anyway, so now that you know what we're going to be cutting out, that bracket will just slide onto this metal, and it'll be a mounting point for the stand that the target will hang from. So let's take a look at loading that graphic, or loading that drawing. So load bracket. So there you go. That's the bracket that we drew, converted to G-code, and just loaded the G-code. The only thing is, metal's in a different orientation than I originally had planned. So I'm going to change the angle to 90 or 80, 90. Okay. So now our bracket's facing the direction I think we need to for the scrap I'm cutting it out of. And exit. And then let me go set it up and make sure I got the 0 right. So you can watch from back here. So I'm going to move this, let's see, that's the 0 point. I'm just going to move it to the edges of the metal, make sure I'm not off the metal. That's close. That looks okay. So I'm going to move it a little bit lower, just a hair lower, and 0 again. And we should be ready to go to cut it. I just got to fire up the plasma, and here we go. Okay, plasma torch is all fired up, plasma unit's all fired up, and this thing, well, you saw me setting it for 0, and we're ready to go. So enable the torch and grab my glasses and let's run it. Alright, did anybody else see my problem? I think I had that set to cut at 110 inches per minute. I don't know I don't know if other people's torches can handle that, but there's no way this one can. It should be 17 inches per minute, so it was doing its best, but it wasn't doing any good. So I got it changed to 17 inches per minute, and let me check my chart. Okay, wow, I need to get my cheaters on. So I pulled out my chart for settings for the plasma cutter. For the 3/8, it needs to be about 40 inches per minute. So that's what I set the Arcdroid up to. And it's running a test pass right now. I don't know why that wouldn't work, but more reasonable speed for 3/8. So let me get the torch turned back on. Nothing's been moved, so I think it'll just cut it where it sits. We'll see what happens. All right. I don't think that's going to come out. So I had a mess up on the cut around the one side here. I think I'm going to try to run it again. Oh. So let me try to run it again. Just use this to block the hole. I won't turn the torch on until it starts to cut around the edge. what happens when you brain fart and do something stupid. Let's see what it does. Well, there we go. Perfect example of being stupid and then recovering from stupid. See if I can do it right this time. Settings are the same as we just had. 60 amps, 40 inches per minute, 75 pounds of air. And here we go. And another garage configuration. So the Arcdroid's put away and got the welding table out because I need to weld these brackets onto this plate. But first I got to clean these up. So this one, yeah, they went through like 3 times with bad settings. I screwed that up pretty badly. It's got some nasty dross and it won't slide on there very well. This one's got a little bit to clean up. I'm not as familiar with cutting at such a high settings and thickness of metal, so I didn't catch that right off the bat, but hopefully you'll be more careful than I was. So like I said, the plate's clean enough. I'm not worried about that at all, and funnily enough I did that by hand. But I'm gonna hit the bench grinder, hit these with the bench grinder, and see how they look cleaned up a little bit. So that's what I'm going to do now. Alright, well, some days are more of a struggle than others. This is what I was planning on building. I mean, I wasn't planning on doing all the grinding and sanding that I've been having to do, but anyway, it came out, this is the design. The idea is that it'll hang from this rebar and be able to rock back and forth, and it'll mount on the hole to the back side of the target, so it'll swing and it'll lay at an angle so that anything that ricochets off will ricochet down, and you'll be able to swap sides so that it'll bend back. Anyway, that's the theory. So now I just need to weld it up, so that's what I'll do now. All right, so the welding's done. I should say welcome back from the struggle bus, because that was more struggle than I intended. That's how it's supposed to hang. You can see it hangs at an angle a little bit because the hole's behind the plane, so the weight will cause it to hang at an angle, and hopefully that'll deflect any ricochets, fragments down, and it'll be, you can swap it to the other side, but it'll swing on this. It swings on rebar because rebar is cheap, and there'll be a 2x4 frame between on either side of the rebar. So that's the part I got to build now while this is cooling. So let me do that. All right, everything's assembled and the shop's all cleaned up. So this is the finished product. I didn't show you everything I did with the 2x4s. I ended up cutting them off and doubling them on the ends to make it a little bit more sturdy. I mean, it's not perfect, but it meets the criteria. So whatever holds up the target is going to get blown to hell. I mean, I'm no marksman. Well, I'm a better marksman than the people that are going to be going with me. But regardless, it seems like the posts, whether they're metal or wood, get tore up. And I'd rather it be wood than metal because you're not going to get ricochets off of wood. The target itself was just scrap that I had left over from a project for a buddy of mine who was making a 4-way log splitter. So anyway, so that's gonna be good enough for handguns. And the rebar is the hanger. So one of the keys here is I don't have to have any tools to put this together. Slide the rebar out. I have the 2 uprights and the target and the rebar, and that's it. I can reassemble it with no tools. It's cheap. A piece of rebar, $5. 2x4s are $5. The brackets were $5, so $25 in the stand, and scrap. I'm sure that wasn't cheap, but I had it already. So let's take a closer look at it real quick, so you can see. I intended for it to. Part of the reason the brackets were made was so that it would cause the target to tilt down. So when it is hit, any shards or ricochets should go down to the ground. Anyway, so our brackets, a little bit of a struggle bus day for me because not paying attention to the fact that I didn't have my settings right. And anyway, you were there, you saw it. But it's done now, and like I said, it isn't perfect, but it'll be, even in best case, it's going to get destroyed anyway. So I think it's a good solution for what I needed, and a fun project for the weekend. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm sure you'll be able to tear my plans apart, or maybe I should say, I'm sure I'm not the only one that could shoot these plans full of holes. But the cool thing is next week I get to shoot them full of holes, so that'll be fun. Anyway, that's the project for this weekend, and hopefully you enjoyed it. Obviously these plans aren't going on the store website, but merchandise is up there, other drawings are up there, and if you enjoyed this at all, make sure you like and subscribe, hit the bell so you get notifications, and thanks for watching.